Welcome to my kitchen, and we're going to learn about the basics of baking. I just took some nice banana muffins out of the oven, and oh, they smell so good. I can hardly wait to eat them. So let's start learning about the basics of baking. So before you can start baking, you have to know all the measurements and all the little quirky things that you need to understand. So first of all, these are measuring spoons. Now, this is really important because what you need to learn is the different abbreviations. Abbreviations are the little short forms for what these are called. So, for instance, this is a tablespoon. So if a recipe says TBS, what does TBS mean? TBS is the short form for tablespoon. I think that's going to be backwards for you guys. So it's really important to know the difference between a tablespoon and a teaspoon. So there's quite a bit of difference. The tablespoon is a lot bigger than the teaspoon. So when this comes into play, okay, let's say your recipe asks for salt, but you only want a teaspoon of salt. Short form for teaspoon is TSP. The short form for tablespoon is TBS. So if your recipe says, I need 1 TSP, you don't want to put a tablespoon of salt into your cookies or your muffins because it's not going to taste so good. So these measurements are really important. TSP is teaspoon, TBS is tablespoon. And then all the other measurements are smaller portions of those. So this is a half a teaspoon, so that's 1/2 of this. And then we have a 1/4 of a teaspoon, that's 4. These are 4 that fit into this. So we're going to have a little bit of math. So think of a big circle and you cut it in half. Then you have 2 sides. Then you put another line through it. I should draw a picture of that. And then you would have a 1/4. I have a handy dandy chart that I will share with you. And then you can copy down all the abbreviations and what they mean. Again, it's really important that you know this. Tablespoon, TBS. Teaspoon, TSP. So you can write all that down. Then we get into our cup measurements. So here we have a 1/4 cup. 4 of these makes 1 of these. This is a 1 cup. So an abbreviation for cup, if your recipe says C, you need 1 C of sugar. That means cup, 1 cup. And a 1/4 cup, you can see right on the measuring cup, it says a 1/4. And then we have a 1/3 cup. 1/3 cup is ever so slightly bigger than a 1/4. And then we have a 1/2 cup, which has some icing sugar in it. It's a 1/2 cup. And then we have a full cup. So remember, C stands for cup. So depending on what the recipe asks for, if it's 1 cup, or a 1/2 cup, or a 1/4 cup, or a 1/3 cup. Now sometimes a recipe will ask for 3/4 cups. So what do you think that means? So we have a 1/4 cup. So your recipe says, I need 3/4 cups of sugar. So we're going to measure 3 of these into your bowl. So that would be 3/4 cup. So 3 of these 1/4 cups equals 3/4 cups. Does that make sense? We could figure that out. So I have some sugar here. There's 1/4 cup. Two 1/4 cups. Now, does anybody know what 2 1/4 cups is? We'll get back to that. 2 1/4 cups. And 3/4 cups. So now we can see, oops, see, it's not quite full. So it's almost full, but not quite. So back to the 2 1/4 cups. Does anybody know what the 2 1/4 cups was? Let's figure that out. 2 1/4 cups. Here we come. Here's a 1/2 cup measure. I just gave the answer away. That's 1, 2. Oh, we're full. There is our 1/2 cup measure. It is full. So 2 1/4 cups equals a 1/2. 2 1/2s equals 1 full cup. Math, sorry, but it's got to be done. Actually, I'm not very good in math, but I understand this. It's very important. So that's some of our measuring. These measuring cups are for dry measuring. Dry measuring is what we just did. We have sugar. We have flour. That is all our dry measuring cups. Then we have liquid. This is a liquid measuring cup. This is actually a 4 cup. That's a big one. Then we have small ones. We have a 1 cup, and actually I have a 2 cup measuring cup. So this is what we measure our liquids in. Liquids would be our water, oil, milk, or variations of. So different way of measuring. When you're measuring liquids like milk, water, eggs, even vinegar, you really need a liquid measuring cup. I don't like using a dry measuring cup. It's different way of measuring things. So this is what you use for measuring. So you need a liquid measuring cup. You need dry measuring cups. And you need your measuring spoons. So that's our first set of equipment and our abbreviations. And again, I'll show you that chart, and you can write down all the different ways of measuring and what the different abbreviations mean. So another thing that's confusing, we got sugar. Oh, okay, I need white sugar. Okay, I'm gonna get out my white sugar. Here's my white sugar. I need a 1/4 cup. Big chunk. There's my white sugar. See, it's granulated. I don't know if you can see that. When you touch it, it's granular. It's almost like sand. Oh, now I need brown sugar. What's the difference between white sugar and brown sugar? Well, this is brown sugar. Can you see that? It's much heavier, much denser, much thicker. Brown sugar can come in different colors. You can have dark brown sugar, you can have golden brown sugar. Depends on what you're baking, but I usually like the golden or the yellow. So that's brown sugar. Now what happens if your recipe calls for confectioner sugar? What is confectioner sugar? Or it could be called icing sugar. It could be called powder sugar. It's the same thing. They just give it different names. This is icing sugar. We use this for icings. That's the name, icing sugar. So, this is very fluffy. Totally different than the white sugar, the granulated sugar. It's very fluffy. Ooh, almost like talcum powder. Again, it's a little confusing because it's the same name. Now, 3 different names for the same product. You can call it confectioner sugar, call it icing sugar, and you can call it powdered sugar. And we use that for making icings. Buttercream icing, you can use it for cream cheese icing. You can just add a little bit of milk to it and just drizzle it. It's very sweet, but that's what you have on your cakes and your cupcakes. So that's the difference between your brown sugar and your white sugar and your icing sugar. No, it gets a little confusing when you have all these different sugars. Now, then we have baking powder and baking soda. Now, both of these help your baking to rise or puff up. Actually, baking soda is really great for cleaning too. It's great for all kinds of stuff. People used to brush their teeth with baking soda, but we're going to bake with it. So I won't get into the chemistry of baking powder and baking soda quite yet. That's probably a little bit more advanced down the line. But they are two different products, so make sure when you're baking you get exactly what you're supposed to be putting in. Baking soda or baking powder. Two different things that go into baking. Not the same. So that's something else to think about and to remember. So baking powder and baking soda. Now, something else that gets really interesting is chocolate. There's so many varieties of chocolate. And you got to make sure when a recipe is asking for chocolate that you're getting the right kind of chocolate. You have chocolate chips. Which I put in my muffin. There's chocolate chips in here. Oh, I can already taste them. Then there's cocoa powder. Cocoa powder is chocolate. But what would you use this in? You can use this in baking too. Now, cocoa powder is just like that. Oops, hard to see. It is powdery, fluffy, and you can put this in your baking. You can also drink this if you heated up some milk, and you can put your cocoa powder right into your hot milk. I drink it straight in hot water. It's a little bitter, but I like it too. So that's cocoa powder. We've had chocolate chips. And then we have baking chocolate, which usually comes in squares or bricks. It almost looks like a chocolate bar, but it's more geared toward baking. Again, we won't get into the chemistry, but it's you can eat it, but why eat it this way when you can put it into something yummy like a cake or a cheesecake or something like that. Again, different types of chocolate, so you have to read the recipe. If it calls for chocolate chips, you want chocolate chips in your muffins or your chocolate chip cookies. If you're making brownies, it will call for probably cocoa. You want cocoa in your brownies. Or if you're baking cheesecakes, it'll probably ask for melted baking chocolate. Oh, so good. Anyways, so right there, it's just a brief kind of overview of different things that you need with baking and different explanations. And I hope that helps. Hope I didn't make it too confusing for everybody. But so we'll leave it at that for today. And hopefully we will see you soon. And maybe we can get into some actual baking. Thank you.